Prepare yourself for List Off, the gaming podcast where your hosts, Brian and Ryan, rank the things they love. 3, 2, 1, List Off!
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way, I would just go back and play these video games all over again. Because this week we are talking about the top 5 video games we would like to play again for the first time. Working title. Of course, with me as always is Brian, but we are also joined by Pixel Project Radio. We have Ben and Rick. How you guys doing?
Hey, good.
Not well. What? Good. Yeah. Great. Hey Brian, how's it going?
How's it going? I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking.
Cool.
Very excited about these lists. This has been a topic that I've always wanted to delve into, because you always think of those games that, you could just erase your memory and Eternal Sunshine back into them. That'd be awesome.
It would be nice. But we'll get into all that. First, we'll start off. You guys want to tell us a little bit about your podcast, your show, and what you guys do?
Yeah, sure. So Ben and I, we are the hosts of Pixel Project Radio. We post episodes like 3 times a month generally. And it's kind of like the podcast Stuff You Should Know, but for video games. So we go into a little bit of history, talk about our time with the games, analyze them. But it's not so formal that we don't crack jokes, because we do that too a lot. Some of them funnier than others.
Yeah, it's deep dive reviews. It's nostalgia. It's, we try to keep on top of relevant topics in games as well. We try to cover the gamut and celebrate all of the works that are video games that we love.
Yeah, you guys definitely do a great job of it. Highly recommend their podcast. I'm a huge fan. It has gotten me to even know about games that I wouldn't know. You guys did. What was the one the other day? I can't think of the game's name. I always want to say The Joyful, but it's not. It's is it Lisa
the Painful?
The Painful, yeah. But there is Lisa the Joyful, but there is Lisa the Joyful. So that's why I get it confused, which I didn't know until I listened to your episode. And I know one of you has a great take on Super Mario Sunshine. So thanks for that.
Maybe.
No, that's a definite. But we talked all about Sunshine last week. We'll skip over that, even though today is Mario Day that we are recording. So happy Mario Day. Did you want to say it too, Ben? You can say happy Mario Day.
I was going to say, and also with you.
Oh, I feel blessed. So did you guys play any games this week?
Ben, you can go ahead and take it away if you want.
I need you to go first, because I'm trying to pull anything from my memory at this point.
Yeah, no problem. So actually, just like 2 hours ago, I don't stream very often, but I started streaming Persona 5 Royal as a second playthrough for a secret thing that's coming up in like months and months down the road. But my mic wasn't working during the whole stream. So folks are coming in and they were like, hey, what's up? And I was talking, I actually made a few good jokes, and lo and behold, lost to history. But so there's that. We are we're covering GoldenEye 007, the N64 game.
Nice.
So I just started that for the first time. Never played it before.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that is a Ben pick, and I'm glad that he picked it, because that's a big part of Nintendo history.
It's a huge part of gaming history, for sure.
First person shooter history. Yeah,
It changed everything.
It did absolutely. Great pick, Ben. And so it's not on my list, but I just thought of another game I'd like to go back and experience for the first time. So you're very lucky to be doing that. I have to say, great game, great title.
Hopefully time has been kind to GoldenEye, but it might not.
Yeah, that's the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I think, when it comes to that. But
right.
Games I've played lately, I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean,
it's not Elden Ring.
No, it is not Elden Ring.
That'd be my first guess. just because everybody's playing it.
Oh no, everyone is. It depends on where I'm at. I'm kind of getting back into Portal again, Portal 2, because that's afoot, and a few other games that I'm not ready to disclose quite yet.
Okay,
but
little mystery.
Just a little bit of mystery. Yeah, and we covered What Remains of David Lynch. I mean Edith Finch, and we had a great time with that. That was Rick suggested that, and it was just a grand slam. I loved it.
Followed up by Super Mario Iliad, of course.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was that actually dropped today. I haven't had a chance to listen to that one yet, but I did listen to What Remains of Edith Finch, and I'm glad you guys both enjoyed it. It's my favorite walking sim, and you actually said, you used my word, poignant, and I had the correct meaning. So thank you for pointing that out, Rick.
I wanted to say, so I was kind of scrolling through the episodes that you guys have done, and there was one that really caught my eye immediately, and that is Diddy Kong Racing. And I'm a little bit into it at this point, but I'm liking what I'm hearing, so I'm definitely going to go through that. And yeah, good takes on it so far. So I'm pleased with that episode.
It's a shockingly good game.
It really is. Yeah, you guys kind of started.
Sorry, Ben has a real knack for picking good games for us to do on the show that I've just never played. I didn't play Diddy Kong Racing until 2021.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, good shoes to be in. That game, I can almost assuredly say aged well.
Oh yeah.
GoldenEye. I mean, what kind of a monster likes inverted controls, right?
Oh, I mean, the only way to play.
It depends.
So, Brian, did you play any games this week?
I did, and it continues to just be Horizon Forbidden West for me. I have talked everyone in our audience's ear off about this game. I will say that I have gotten big into the photo mode, and I've been posting on Twitter a bunch of the different photos that I've been able to take. PlayStation reintegrated that capture on the PlayStation app mechanic. So if I take pictures on the PS5, then it automatically gets transferred to the app on the phone, which is so much easier than sending pictures like to you or anyone to then save on to my phone to then put on Twitter.
Right.
So this makes it a lot easier.
Making like a throwaway Twitter account where you have to post all your pics to download them. Yeah.
This is much easier, but I'm trying to do my best Shinobi from Twitter and get some really good photo mode opportunities. And that game is so gorgeous, and I've just been pouring all my time into it, and I feel like I'm pretty far. The game kind of breaks itself into Zelda, like, here's the things you have to do. Go to this area, collect these things. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I did one huge part of that, and now I'm on to the next huge part. But I feel like I'm making really good progress. So yeah, that is a big game for sure.
Yeah, lots of big games. The one I've been playing is Elden Ring. I will not talk at length again about Elden Ring, but I will say I checked this morning. I'm 31 hours in, and it has now become very clear how huge this game is. I don't feel like I'm even a third of the way through it. There is just so much there. A few things that have really impressed me beyond what I talked about last week are how well the game does caverns and underground things. It seems like the sense of scale is never so apparent as when you're underground and you open up into like a huge chasm and there's some like fallen ruin in front of you. And there's a lot of detail in these areas that people can play through and never even see. And I think that's just really, really impressive. It's still so good. I don't see myself stopping anytime soon, but I did play another game this week because I did.
That's surprising. Okay.
It is surprising. But the game I played is called Overboard. It is. I played it on my phone. I got it as an app, and I'll get into how maybe after our list you'll hear about how I got it. But it's a really cool game. I think it's available on the Switch as well. It's quick playthroughs, 5-minute playthroughs, but you're on a cruise ship. And there is a murder. Your husband is murdered in the dead of night. The only catch is you murdered him. You threw him overboard. So the whole crux of the game is trying to make yourself look innocent. And there's a few ways you could do that by just not having evidence around to incriminate you at all, or by pinning the murder on other people. And I won't get into too much, but it's really cool because there are these different characters, maybe a handful of characters, 5 to 8 on the ship, and they all have their set schedules of where they are on the ship at any given time. And you kind of have to find, like any other game that came out in 2021. It's a time loop game.
The year of the time loop,
yeah.
right?
So even the character remembers prior playthroughs. So you know what you kind of have to do. In the first playthrough, you're probably going to fail. I did. I hear that's the norm. You just don't really know what you have to do at that point, but you start figuring things out. And there are tiers to the endings. You could obviously get through it without getting the murder pinned on you, but then you can pin it on somebody else and get the life insurance policy. It's just really cool, clever game, very good writing. There's a detective on board who's like that savvy detective type. So at the end of every day, you're all called into the dining room, and basically that's when the whole thing goes down, where everybody says their side of the story and tries to decide who done it. But it's fun. It's really a lot of fun, a simple game in concept, and really well done.
What year does it take place in, if I might ask?
1935.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, it's really cool. It is really cool. The music's like very, timely, and yeah, it's good. It's good.
Smoky kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very Death on the
Noir.
Nile, right?
Yeah.
Given a recent film that was released. No, it's cool. It's very cool. But yeah, aside from that, I think that's all we've been playing. So without further ado, let's get into our lists. All right. So once again, we are doing our top 5. Typically, when we have 2 guests on the show, we do top 3 with an honorable mention. But just today, I was kind of like, man, this is really hard to get down to even 5. I'm not sure which one I'd take off this list. So I kind of messaged everybody and said, hey, is everybody cool with doing 5? So we're not doing an honorable mention, but we are doing our top 5 of the games that we would like to play again for the first time. And that's I took it as experience again. I don't know if you guys all did the same thing, but it's like mind wipe, go back in time. And even to the point where if it's a dated game, it wouldn't seem dated as you play it. Right.
I think that's an important part of it, because when I was making my list, it felt
Right.
like, well, I wouldn't want to play this game right now with other enhanced things that have come out. So
okay.
I think it's important to go back in time as well with these.
Cool, man. I will go way back. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, without further ado, let's do this. Which one of you gentlemen would like to start us off?
Ben is gesturing. Yeah, I can.
Which if you do catch the YouTube video, you'll be able to watch all this. So don't forget to don't miss that. I just said, don't forget to miss that. I am so good at promoting ourselves.
Don't miss to forget it either.
Oh, that's true. Good point.
There
Good
you
point,
go.
Ben.
Harumph. Yeah. So I thought about this a lot, and to your point, Ryan and Brian, both to your points, a lot of these games for me, there are 2 that have really come out recently that like I could play right now today, brain wiped, and be like, yes, I love this. But the other 3, they hinge a lot on where I was in my life at the time. So my number 5, maybe not a conventional one, but is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Wow.
I can dig it.
I'm leaving.
I'm leaving.
This Sonic Adventure 2 originally came out on the Dreamcast, and Battle came out as a sort of, it wasn't a remaster. They didn't really do that, but it was like a remake on the GameCube. And as a kid, that's the most important part, is as a kid, me and my best friend at the time, we were just really into Sonic games. And this was not only the first game that they introduced Shadow, who as like a chubby little comic book reader kid, I was like, oh, he's so cool and edgy. It was the first one that they introduced him, but you also got to play as him, which was just the coolest thing. So playing that game, as janky as it was even back then, with my best friend and talking about it and like raising the chows in the chow garden, which was a huge part of that game, it was just it was so it was just so cool. And, you know, even to the point where like when I was at the supermarket with my mom and I would see like I'm not a comic, but like a tips and tricks with Sonic on it, or like a Sonic comic book, I would be like, oh man, like I got to get that. Yeah, Sonic was just so popular with my friend group and with kids at the time. Great game.
That's cool. So do you like your Shadow with guns or without guns?
My favorite part about that weird game is that like they really tried to make him swear a lot. So like every time he'd get hit, he'd be like, damn. Like looking back, it's so ridiculous. But to answer your question, at the time, I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, so. Super edgy for sure. It is.
I think the cool thing, so I played it originally on the Dreamcast, but so you had the chows in the garden and the VMU where you could take it with you. Didn't Battle actually have the ability to link to the GBA and do the same exact thing where you could raise the chow on the Game Boy Advance?
Yes, I believe my memory is really foggy on this, but I know I tried it. I think you may have needed a copy of Sonic Advance on your Game Boy, which I did have that. And to be honest, I think it might be a better game by today's standards than Adventure 2 Battle. But yes, you definitely could. And even, you know, looking back on it today, min-maxing your chow is actually like probably the most interesting part of that game, weirdly enough. But
I like how they're like, hey kids, you want to play this on your Game Boy Advance? Buy another game. Talk to your parents. So all right, Ben, you're up.
I hate this because I'm looking at this list of 6 games.
Oh no. You're still like, which ones?
I'm just like, golly. And I know that there's no honorable mention, so one of you is being put down the garbage disposal.
Do you want to just give it a quick? I'll allow it. I'll allow it if you just want to like quickly name drop it.
Okay. And it's a game.
I'm not a monster. You could say a little bit about it too.
Golly, I was sweating a little bit too much here, Ryan. So honorable mention, and I know Rick will understand this. And Rick, you made a really great point about games that you would like kind of need to travel through time to play. I mean, that's true. Like, you know, where you were at the time. Mm-hmm. This is one that if I were to play it now for the first time, I would probably sob uncontrollably and take control of my life. And that runner-up game is Superliminal.
Oh, yeah.
That's my honorable mention because good God, you get to the end and you're like, holy shnikes. That's my honorable mention. My actual 5. See, now that I've done that, I feel relieved.
Good. I'm glad we could help. We don't want anybody like feeling like they couldn't get it off their chest. So
you guys are the best. I'm just I was a mess. My number 5 is actually Pokemon Yellow.
I think that's a great pick.
It is a great pick.
As an adult, and as I look back at where I was with Pokemon Yellow, and I remember taking long bus trips to like New York City as a child. Like my dad was on the Parks Committee for Washington, PA, and he would arrange these giant bus trips with a bunch of people I didn't know. And, you know, we're all on this like overnight, like Greyhound kind of thing. And I remember playing Pokemon Yellow, like on this bus. I remember playing it, you know, as soon as I'm home from elementary school. I remember sneaking it and like, yeah, Mom, I went to bed at 10 last night, and playing it until like 11:15. The amount of customization that you had at your fingertips, and I mean, you don't think of that immediately, but like between moves, and when you think about the teams you can create, and then you think about like the attachment between you and your Pokemon. Granted, you know, it was so battle based, but you still had a sense of like duty and care for these creatures of yours. I don't know. There's just something about Pokemon Yellow that I look back and I was like, yeah, they did this right. And then, of course, my favorite Pokemon of all time is Mewtwo, and the opportunity to obtain that guy. Yeah.
I think Pokemon Yellow might, God, I'm going to get so much crap for saying this, but it might be my last great Pokemon experience. I know. I'm sorry. I know Pokemon fans are like, what?
You haven't
No.
played a lot of new games though, too.
No, I
So
haven't.
yeah.
Just quick thing I have to throw in here, Ryan. Video Game Donkey himself has said there are 2 Pokemon games, meaning the most recent release on the Switch and Pokemon Yellow.
Oh, I say
Nice.
that's about right, because it does seem like Pokemon Yellow was the best version of those early games, and every game that came after was another version of those early games.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ben, this definitely doesn't have anything to do with a pick of mine that's coming up. But did Pokemon Yellow come after Red and Blue and before Gold and Crystal, or did it come out after Gold and Silver? Excuse me.
It was Pokemon Yellow was before Gold and Silver, but I don't remember if it came out at the exact same time or slightly before, slightly after Blue and Red. But I'm looking it up now.
I think it was after. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yellow was after. Okay.
Yeah. They really capitalized on the Pikachu part of it, because all the kids were watching the show, and that was part of the game, was just Pikachu was following behind you.
Yeah.
And I think that was a super cool part of it.
Yeah, I
Yep.
agree. Good pick. All right,
Yeah.
Brian,
Cool. All right.
it's your turn.
Yeah, it is. You don't have to give me a cue, that's for sure. All right.
I just have to make sure I interrupt you.
Yes.
That's what I have to do.
All right. So I'm taking you all back to 1998. So kind of the same time as around Pokemon Yellow. You're on dial-up. You've plugged into the internet. I had MSN at the time, so it took 2 or 3 minutes to really get the computer up and running. And you load up StarCraft, and you have your at this time just StarCraft 1. I'm grouping in Brood War because it's all part of the same huge campaign, and you're playing online, and you keep getting that high latency ping, but you're going to make it. You've got an army, you're amassing troops, you're going into your opponent's base, and you're about to destroy them. And then the internet cuts out because your mom picked up the phone, and that's the end of the game. And that happened so many times that it made me so mad. But playing StarCraft for the first time was an amazing experience. It was my first time really playing a PC game. My brother we didn't really have a computer, but I had played games on the PC with my brothers every so often. And he liked games like Diablo and Hexen, things like that. And those were a little too mature for me at the time. But StarCraft was in that sweet spot. But this game, there is so much that is going on. You can learn it really easily. It's impossible to master. People are still playing this game to this day, even over StarCraft 2. And it just, I loved the gameplay of it. I loved the graphics. I mean, we got those incredible cutscenes that I had only really seen in like PlayStation, like Final Fantasy games before. But the computer, you could do pretty much all those things really, really easily. And just like having hundreds of units on the map fighting these huge scale battles, it was incredible. And the graphics at the time kind of lent themselves to have your imagination fill in the gaps. And there were so many different creatures. And of course, Zerg is my go-to. I just love the design, the disgusting, creepy nature of everything about them, the creep that just like covers the level. Everything about that race is just so fun to me. And then they had all of the use map settings modes. So you could go in, you could create your own campaigns, you could create your own games. And that was where I like played tower defense games, where you were just like joined with 8 other people and trying not to have like all the mobs get to the end. There's so much replayability. And this was one of those games that I just like, I found it, I guess, kind of around the time that it came out, unbeknownst to me, and just fell in love with it. And to capture that magic again would be so incredible. I feel like StarCraft 2 kind of got there for me, but I already knew what I was getting into, so I didn't have as much surprise. But yeah, StarCraft was where it was at for me, and I would love to play that for the first time again.
Kind of incredible how far we've come You know, mom can't pick up the phone now and cut off the internet, right?
That's true. Yep.
Yeah.
Don't let her anyway.
Yep.
No, that's really cool, man. It is funny because you say it's so replayable, but the fact that people are still playing it in 2022 kind of tells you everything you need to know about that game. I think
it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I played it when they had remastered it, which was, I mean, it was not that much that they did to it, but it still looked good, and you could still play through those campaign missions and have a decent time.
Yeah, I think it aged well. Like the graphics and how they used them really did age well. It doesn't look disgusting as a lot of games from that era do now, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, except the Zerg, they still kind of look disgusting.
Yeah, but that's great. The more disgusting, the better.
Yeah. Cool. I think it's a great pick, and a very Brian pick as well. Yes. So my number 5 is a very Ryan pick. But before we get to that, I wasn't being completely altruistic, Ben. I let you get your honorable mention in because I want to mention one game that didn't make my list, and it is Tetris. I wanted to mention Tetris because the first time I played Tetris, I was up till 3 a.m, eyes bleeding, still playing Tetris, just to get a few more lines before, you know, the walls came crashing down on me. But yeah, I think that's just an awesome game.
I didn't realize what I had with Tetris, like when I had it as a kid, because I had a good amount of Game Boy games, and I would always come back to Tetris, and it was for good reason.
Before you hop off Tetris, it to this day has one of my favorite video game melodies of all time. It's just, it's so good. I don't know any other way to describe it.
No, yeah, it's like people. As soon as you say this Tetris melody, I'm sure everybody had it going off in their head, right? It's iconic for sure.
I think it was one of the Super Smash Brothers games has some Tetris stuff in it, and they have a remixed version of that song, and it's really good. Just check it out.
Cool.
Yeah, I just remember getting my Game Boy in Tetris and just like I never wanted to put it down.
That's all you need.
Yeah, but that's not my number 5. Haha. My number 5 is The Last of Us, the first game. I don't think this is a game that a lot of people think fondly of now. And I think those people are wrong. To me, this just, so I went into it blind, which was surprising because I didn't play this in 2013. I played it closer to like 2018. My wife was pregnant at the time, and if I could go back to that moment, playing that beginning sequence, and oh my gosh, I don't know if I've ever felt the emotion I felt playing through that beginning sequence, playing any other game, just because the time in my own life, and I don't think we knew like the gender of our kid at that point. So it was like putting myself in the shoes of Joel for that sequence. Anyway, I definitely was crying. Let's put it that way. But, and that's without even considering the ending and all the twists and turns and like awesome characters you get to meet and interact with throughout the way. I think it's one of those that also classifies as a hard game to go back to because, first of all, the sequel did everything the first game did, but better as far as gameplay goes. And the gameplay of this original game it's dated by today's standards, completely dated. I can't think of an aspect of it that is fun to play in 2022. I did play through it, I think, again, a year ago, and I enjoyed the playthrough, but there are games that did everything better. I just think the first playthrough of this title is a highlight in my gaming career, without a doubt. And if I could go back and experience it all over again, just getting to see the relationship between Joel and Ellie build again. I think people say this game, it's astonishing to me. Yes, like if you look at the plot points throughout the game, some of that is telegraphed and some of that's very predictable as far as where it's going and how it's going to end and that sort of thing. But the minutia, the dialogue between characters and that relationship building, I'd be hard pressed to think of a game that does it better. And I think to experience that growth and that softening of Joel over again would be an awesome thing to do, which I can't. But if I could, I would. And that's why it's my number 5.
May I tell you something, Ryan?
Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
For the 3rd time this episode, haven't played it, but it is on my list to get to this year. I remember when the discourse around Last of Us 2 came out. Mm-hmm. I remember feeling like, oh, these are just angry gamers being gamers. Mm-hmm. Take that for what it's worth. But I virtually know nothing about the story for either. I have played the opening sequence of 1. So I know exactly what you mean. Because
I was trying to tiptoe around all of that. So I hope I did a good enough job.
Oh, you did. You did. But I'm excited to get to it. You said that some people don't care for it anymore. I still hear nothing but good things about part 1.
That's good. Part 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I'll come out and say it's easily in my top 3. And I have no qualm saying that. The world can know that, and I will deal with anything anybody wants to say about it because, man, wow, I really can't wait to hear your take on it if you do get to experience both of them, because I think it deserves more credit than it gets as far as the sequel goes. It's not the story a lot of people wanted to see, but we don't get to choose the story other people tell, right?
Yeah.
Is it my turn again?
You're supposed to pick up on this stuff right now. I'm just kidding, Rick. You're good, dude.
Okay. So this one, I'm very curious to hear what Ben thinks about this.
I'm already angry.
Well, given what it is, I mean, maybe my number 4 that I wish I could play for the first time again, Kingdom Hearts.
I respect that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I am angry.
Oh, no. It almost made my list.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, see, here's the thing. So Kingdom Hearts came out in 2002. I believe I was in 3rd grade when it came out. I had already played Final Fantasy X because it came out like right before. It was pretty close. And I was playing it in conjunction with my neighbors, 2 of them. Well, 4 of them, but 2 of them were a little too old to hang out with us and play pretend. So like they played it with us and talked about it. But when we like went outside and was like, I'm Sora, I'm Riku, they were like, no.
Like, all right, guys, see you later.
Yeah. But that feeling, and this is going to come up with my number 2 pick as well, that feeling of being in an in-group of a lot of people playing video games before the internet was so ubiquitous and vast was just a feeling that we'll never get again. And I know everybody here can sympathize with that because like even in 2002, not everybody had the internet. And if they did, you couldn't just type in like Kingdom Hearts walkthrough and get like a YouTuber doing a Let's Play or even a walk. At best, you might find like some ASCII art telling you like how to take down certain enemies, which I have a fondness for those. But it was just such a special thing because like everybody's in the conversation without the internet, and figuring it out together and experiencing this story full of characters that we all knew and know and love. And does the game hold up particularly well. In a lot of areas, yes, and in a lot of areas, no. And I am going to replay it this year. It's my goal to get through all 3 mainline games, because I haven't beat 2 and I've never touched 3. So I want to, just to say that I have. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that. And it's just it represents a time in my life where, you know, I feel like I'm coming off as like a Luddite or somebody that's vehemently against technology, but and I'm not. I love technology, but it was just a very special time, like before everybody was all connected via the internet and Discord and Facebook and Twitter. And, you know, you're just experiencing this thing that everybody at school is doing with all of your friends, and you're trading rumors and you're trading tips, and it's just a very cool thing.
Would be a great time to go back to. It's funny, I remember looking up early walkthroughs, and they were always text documents and always had that ASCII art at the header, right? So as soon as you said that, man, it like set off something in my brain, going back to a moment in time. Very cool moment in time for sure.
I used to go to game FAQs all the time to get my not even news, but just like talking about the game. That was where it was at, with the forums and those walkthroughs for sure.
Yeah. I had this moment the other day. I forgot to mention this at the forefront of the episode, but I'm playing through a game called Xenogears for the first time, which is astounding because it's like one of the greatest RPGs ever, and I just never touched it. But I was like somewhat stuck on something, so I just typed in like Xenogears walkthrough, and the first thing was just this huge ASCII art text walkthrough, and I was just instantly transported to a time where the landline phone would kick me off if I didn't read quick enough.
Yeah. You're like, that's the walkthrough I'm going to use, right? Yeah. You know, people talk about their blind spots, and Kingdom Hearts is a huge blind spot for me. Never played it, never played any of them. And it was funny because I was older. So when this game came out, I was older. We'll just say that 21. But it was, I remember I worked at a mall at the time, and there was a Funko Land there, and seeing they had the poster for it. I'm like, man, that looks so cool. Like, I should play that. Even at the time when it released, I remember thinking that, and it avoided me, and it still avoids me to this day. Should I do it, guys?
It's worth it. It absolutely is worth it.
Yeah.
They have that all-in-one package that has every conceivable Kingdom Hearts game, side quest, everything. It's like $20 regularly too.
I think there are dedicated websites that'll tell you like which games you can skip and just watch cutscenes on YouTube. So, if it's too intimidating, but one, like before they got really off the rails with the story and just did whatever they wanted, like one is good by itself. Like you could stop there and it's fine.
Yeah, I actually might go back and play it. How many hours would you say of a time sink is this game?
Like
40?
25. It's 25, 35. It's not, it's under 40 for sure.
Yeah, I put that into Elden Ring. I could do it.
I was gonna say, it depends on how far and how much you want to do with the game, because they've hidden some neat things throughout it. So,
oh yeah, if you want to fight the one-winged angel, you're gonna have to do a lot of side quests.
Oh yes,
I might actually have to do that.
Oh no,
you should.
Big fan.
Okay, everybody. My number 4 game actually comes it was at a pivotal time in my life, the year 2015. Ben gets his first job, moves away from home, etc. In this game, it slapped differently then, and I'm sure it would slap differently now. That game is Undertale. If I could play it over for the first time, because the first time I played it, I was literally in stitches. Like, I was like, this is absolutely absurd. But in a lot of ways, Toby Fox has shown us, listen to me speak English, a masterclass in soft and hard world building and how harmonious those two things can be together. Just about as well done as I'd say any major, cinematic movie that features both of those elements. Like, you get Star Wars at its best. It has good elements of both soft and hard world building. The same could be true of the Harry Potter book series. There's a lot of things that just are the way they are because that's the way they are. And then there's a lot of things that are the way they are because it's calculated, measured. And then there are other things that are the way they are literally for no reason but to make you laugh. And the different ways you can play the game. I've been doing some digging at how many different endings. Like if you do one thing one way, and if you hurt one person too many, and if you hurt everybody but one person, and all these different things. Toby Fox had the foresight to engineer this game to have that many different responses. Like you could sneeze the wrong way and you'll pay for it later. I love it.
I don't mean to jump in too quickly, but Ben and I lived together during school from fall 2013 to spring 2015, and this game came out in fall of 2015. So right after we parted ways, and that's a game that I always find myself wishing like we could have played together. So it was really special. I swear this is not like a buzz marketing thing. I didn't plan this, but it was really special to play through it for the show with you, Ben, because it deserves.
And once again, that is Pixel Project Radio. No,
there we go.
Buy now.
Yeah,
Call
exactly.
now. Ben, I don't mean to steer the ship too much, but you should tell the story of when you emailed Toby Fox.
Oh yeah, I emailed
Please
Toby
do.
Fox once. I emailed him, and I was a little bit verbose, and I was like, Toby, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you on the monumental success of Undertale. The stories, I've done the neutral run and the pacifist run, and I'm admittedly struggling through the genocide run. I said, but like the game, it's just astounded me. It's my favorite game I've played since game that will be revealed later. And I said, really, one of the great things of this game, one of the great portions of this game is the music. I said, you've as someone who studied music, you've done some really astounding things and some really shocking things, and your use of leitmotif is amazing. I said, so I just was curious to know what your background was. Okay.
Did he email you back?
He emailed me back one sentence, and it said, my computer background is a pic of a dog.
Oh, that only makes me like him even more.
Oh my God. That feels like something that needs to be shared with the rest of the internet.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I have it saved and somewhere, and I just remember looking at that and I was like, holy shit. So I emailed him back. I said, that's hilarious. I said, though I am still actually curious about it. And he told me that he'd studied and listened to other video game music and, had tinkered around at the piano himself. And he sent me like a 2-sentence reply.
Wow.
That had some truth to it.
Really cool that he replied, though.
Yeah.
I mean, never expected, right?
No.
Dan Mullins liked one of my tweets when I tweeted about Inscription. So that was pretty cool.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, since we're tooting horns here, right? Pixel Project Radio also had one of the developers of Returnal like one of my tweets, which was pretty
also,
cool. Huge fan.
Weapon Lord. You reached out to the artist that did the Weapon Lord logo and art.
Cover, yeah. Simon Bisley, because it's been like an ongoing joke on our show. Weapon Lord has been, because it's a big story from my childhood. I can't even remember what episode we talked about that on, Brian. Yeah. But we did our top 10 cover arts, and Weapon Lord was my number one, and like legitimately my number one. I highly recommend you look at the cover art for that game if you get a chance. So I was like, oh man, maybe I could get the artist to do like a shirt design for us, right? He's a comic book artist, and Simon Bisley, he's done like D&D art. And I emailed him, and he actually responded, which was nice. And I had said, hey, we would love to have a logo for our podcast done in that text and blah, blah, blah. And he kind of pulled the Toby Fox and emailed me a 1-sentence reply that said that logo is probably owned by the company that distributed the game. And that was it. I was like,
I don't think he really cares.
No, but I was like, thanks for replying. Anyway,
he replied as if he was like an employee at a company that made something, and you were really excited, and he was like, I don't know, I
Yeah.
made that like in an afternoon for
Right.
a
Yeah.
portfolio.
Yeah. Not as impressive as your Toby Fox story, but it's always cool, right? It's always cool to hear back from people we idolize, even when they're just like brush it off, which Toby Fox, I would say, didn't do. He seems like it was meant as genuine humor and like to make you chuckle.
You saw an opportunity there.
Yeah. I would appreciate that. That's very cool, man. What a great story. And,
so I should play Undertale. It sounds like that seems like a good game. Then
look at the face.
It wedged itself into, in my humble opinion, the canon of must-play games.
Okay. It's on Game Pass. I have it installed because it was like a megabyte.
Right. So I've actually played Undertale. I played about 30 minutes to an hour of it, and I played no further because I blew a pacifist run, and I was so frustrated with myself. And I wanted my first run through to be a pacifist run. I've heard enough about the game. And I wanted that first run through to be it. So I got very frustrated to have done that, and I couldn't allow myself to pick it back up.
One of the cool things about the game is that he kind of accounts for that, in that if you try to do a pacifist your first run, you're not going to get the pacifist ending. You're going to get it just as if you were to have killed like 50-50. I mean, you'll get different dialogue, but I love that he does that, because there's a twist in the neutral ending. Well, towards the ending of the neutral route that you wouldn't otherwise get. And I'm on board with Ben here. I know I made a weird face, but my face is just weird. So, but no, I'm with Ben 100%. It is a must play. And if you have played games like Earthbound and Final Fantasy VI, there are specific references to those games, which is the opera scene in particular. Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I love that opera scene in Final Fantasy VI. I will say the soundtrack, I think, made both of our top soundtrack lists, if I'm not mistaken. I know it made mine. I can't remember if it made yours, Brian.
It didn't make mine, but I when I had seen Video Games Live, that was like one of the best songs that they had played. And I was like, this game seems awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and it made my list without having played the game. So
nice.
Definitely appreciate that music. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. That every time I hear about this game, I'm like, okay, yeah, I should play it. That seems like the way to go. But my number 4, everyone I'm sure has played this one, and it is Super Mario 64. Everyone's played this one, right? Okay, good. So Super Mario 64, I mean, what can I say? This is a time and place game. It holds up okay nowadays. You know, I've dabbled in it on Nintendo Switch's virtual console, and it's fine. The controls are awesome. It plays and feels just as it did back in '96. And this is, to me, the game that ushered in 3D video games as a concept. And that at the time was completely mind-blowing to me. I had, poured over the NES and Super Nintendo and liked those games tons. But this just like elevated video games to a completely different level for me. It was that new dimension, just changed everything. We had this 3-pronged controller that none of us knew what to do with, but you held it and you got through it. And just jumping out of that pipe, seeing the world beyond, seeing the castle, going through the castle and jumping into these paintings and realizing that these are entire worlds that are behind each of these paintings. And there were like 15 levels. It was a massive game for the time. And the hub world had so many secrets. I just poured through that game, tried to get up to the top of the roof without, the cannon and everything. And I would just go over every single level and nitpick and try to break and get to different places. And it was just an amazing game and continues to be the inspiration for it was groundbreaking. There were so many tenets that are still in use today of how the camera is situated, how far it is, just controls in a 3D space. And yes, Banjo-Kazooie, that game is not making my list. And that's saying something, Ryan. I know that means something.
With Super Mario 64 on your list, I could see why Banjo-Kazooie would not make your list.
It almost made mine.
Oh, okay. Banjo-Kazooie, the superior game by all accounts, but it didn't break the ground in the same way for me. And that's kind of just by virtue of it coming out second. I mean, you guys, I had listened a little bit to the Diddy Kong Racing episode. Same thing, Mario Kart is a great game, but Diddy Kong Racing learned a lot and could elevate so many aspects of it. Oh my God, Ryan, are you kidding me?
Look, I'm keeping jokes out of this. I do think Diddy Kong Racing is the superior game. It's kind of unquestionable.
It is. Yeah. The battle mode, you can sway me either way, but for sure, the everything else about the game is superior. And same with Banjo-Kazooie. But what Mario did was just unbelievable at the time, and continues to just. I mean, that's what Odyssey is based on. It's that same, everyone freaked out when Odyssey came about and we're like, oh, we're going back to Mario 64. Mm-hmm. We're going back to that style. This is great. This is what we want. And that game was amazing as well. So
yeah, I think it's really a really, really good pick. And that is exactly why it's my number 4, Brian.
Nice.
Like, how could you?
Yeah.
You obviously we will all get a chance to talk about the game in a minute, but I really think our conversation last week got me thinking more about this game in particular, right? And you kind of alluded to it. I think it's really hard to go back to because there are things like Odyssey, because there are things like Sunshine.
Oh God,
that's right though. And it would be almost impossible. I have gone back to Mario 64. I think the most recent time I played it was probably like 8 years ago, and it didn't feel like that first time, and it never will. It never will again. But to go back and be able to experience it all over again would be just mind blowing. I think it's what you said. It's pouring over every inch of the game, and at the time that seemed like something I would never accomplish because the scope of it was boundless for when it came out. It was unlike anything that ever came before it in the sense of scale. And just to like look up at the sun and boom, you're transported to a secret level, find Princess Peach's, a stained glass window and drain the moat, and all these little secrets within that hub world that you just only found through like figuring out the secrets of the castle itself. It was that sense of discovery that only the best video games can offer when they're at their best. And this game had it almost constantly, jumping through what looked like a wall only to discover it was a hidden painting. There's so many of these instances in this single game. We talked about one last week when you're in when you find Nessie, right? I'm thinking of the Loch Ness Monster, but you know what I mean, right? When you go in and find the dinosaur in the cave all of a sudden, and there are just like countless instances where you're just discovering something new, and it's fun throughout, wanting to catch that damn rabbit and trying over and over again until you do. And then it seems easy every other time after that, right?
Try to do that with a Nintendo DS.
Yeah.
If you could do that, then you can do anything. That's
actually how I played the last time I played through it. That's how I played it, was on a DS. So I did do that. Yeah, this is a standout. And it's interesting too, for all the things it did right, how many copycat platformers that came out in the years afterwards that couldn't even achieve what it got right. Like it tried to mimic it and couldn't. Like they nailed the secret sauce the first time out with a 3D Mario, and that's astonishing. And to have it not only be the first 3D Mario, but the first of its kind, and to do everything so correctly is just, that is that Nintendo magic that you talk about, Brian.
I would even say like PlayStation was trying over and over again to get that mascot platformer, and they had some successes, but I would argue nowhere near what Nintendo came up with for Mario 64.
Spyro's cool though.
But is it Mario 64?
No.
Exactly.
Gex, anyone? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge Gex fan. Yes, Gex, absolutely.
We've had hours of discussion on Gex on the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No,
we would love to get I forget the actress's name who is on the cover. We would love to get her on an episode to talk about whatever.
Deep cover gecko.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
This is like doing a podcast at Tony Danza's house.
There it is. There it is. And that's why we love it.
So my number 3, this is the first of 2 games on this list that I played recently. Both of them actually in 2020. This one in late 2020. And it's a bit of a wild card. So I will be surprised if any of you have picks that are similar or have even heard of it, if I'm being truthful. It is a visual novel trilogy, actually, called Muv-Luv, Muvluv. And yeah, I figured. So I'm a big visual novel guy. I like visual novels. I like reading. Always have. Always will. And there are a lot of visual novels that are subpar or mediocre or just exist for use your imagination. But Muv-Luv is one of those that just sort of supersedes all of that. It's a genuinely gripping story. It's the only thing that makes it difficult to recommend to me is somebody has to be into visual novels, which, some people aren't, and that's fine. They also have to be willing to go through 3 separate entries, which totals up to roughly like 120 hours of reading. It's a lot, but it's one of those things where reading one will be satisfying in a way, but reading all 3 is like, it's mind-blowing to me. The story it begins just like you'd expect. There's a normal male main protagonist that everybody loves for some reason. That's the whole first entry. It's just introducing you. But in the second and third, you get sort of unstuck in time, sort of similar to Slaughterhouse-5 by Kurt Vonnegut. It's not on the same level, don't get me wrong. I'm not about to compare a visual novel to Kurt Vonnegut, but you get unstuck in time, and there's this sort of Gundam-style mech war going on with these alien race called the Beta, and it's not close. Like, one of those Beta can wipe out just everything. And
more like Alpha.
Yeah, the naming choice was a weird one, but it's, if you are into visual novels and you are okay with that sort of time commitment, I cannot think of something better to read through. It's funny, it's touching, it's written in a way that avoids certain tropes, like the main character, even though like all of the women characters love the main character, which is a trope, he's not a helpless moron. Like he doesn't fall into that sort of trope. But if you're into, if everything I'm describing checks the boxes for you, it is the most highly recommended visual novel aside from like Danganronpa and Clannad that I can offer. It is phenomenal, and I would read it again. I would like to. It's but 120 hours.
It's a big time sink.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I actually tried my first visual novel this year.
What was it?
Doki Doki Literature Club.
Hey, Ben and I know that one.
Yeah, I made it through. I made it through the game.
Nice.
I liked it. Wow. Insane. Not what I expected at all. Went in not knowing what to expect, but I would definitely play more of them. I did enjoy it, and I thought it's a good way to read a book. It's a really good way to read a book. This one being a short one, whereas Muv-Luv sounds like an actual novel.
The next visual novel that I tend to recommend to people is Danganronpa, simply because you're doing more than just reading. Like, there's mild elements of gameplay, but it's also a lot of it's voice acted, and it's a fun story. I think Play Along Podcast recently did a let's play of that.
Yeah, I actually listened to it. Trigger Happy Havoc, they did. So Muv-Luv is it voice acted? Probably not, right? It's all reading.
No, actually, it's voice acted. It's voice acted just in Japanese, if I recall. But yeah, it's I think it's actually mostly voice acted.
Very cool. Yeah, I would give it a shot. 120 hours though. It's like, as you know, I think we've had this conversation off the podcast, how I keep talking myself out of Persona 5 because it's that time sink. And sometimes and I said it to you, I said, I always say I don't have time for games like that, but here I am sinking countless hours into Elden Ring. So maybe I do have time for games like this.
Look, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Our time is the most valuable asset that we have, and even if we only played games that we know we will love, we'll never get to all of them. Right. So it's a big ask. So I would never fault anybody if they just never touched a visual novel. Although I think you should. It's reading is cool.
Reading is
try
cool.
one.
I think as a kid that happened to me where I would play just like everything and liked a lot. And then as I got older, just more really good games keep coming out, and it's faster than I can consume them at this point. So it feels like, all right, well, I just have to play the absolute best of the best, and everything else, like even if it's really good and I know I'll like it, it's just going to go by the wayside. Very difficult.
But reading is fundamental.
It is.
Take a look. It's in a book.
Yeah, it is. It's in there. So is it time for number 3?
It is.
Yes.
Okay. There are 3 children that I'm staring at, and I love them all for different reasons. And I can't pick a favorite child, but I can in this category of what would I like to play again for the first time. And I think, speaking honestly, my number 3 is The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword.
Ooh,
wow.
Spicy.
Super spicy.
That is my 3. I don't usually like to call anything perfect. I don't like to go near the word because it's not a real word. There's no such thing as perfect. The soundtrack to this game annihilates, just leaves. It's just, don't get me wrong, I love so many games and their soundtracks, but this one's soundtrack just catapults it for me, for starters. The exploration of like the antiquity of like the Legend of Zelda that this game like dives into. I live for it. I live for lore. That's why I like the prequels of Star Wars so much, not because they were necessarily pitched to our generation, but more so because I looked at it as Obi-Wan's story. I looked at it as
Yes.
This
Thank
is what
you.
it's about. No, absolutely.
Defend the prequels.
I will.
Hell yeah.
I absolutely will. I don't think I can defend episode 2's 48 minutes of Padme and Anakin, but everything else I'll basically defend.
The most well thought out trilogy of the 3.
And then there's Jar Jar. Not great, but we that's a whole nother thing to camp out on. So I'm gonna walk past that campsite for now and say
My wife's favorite character
is Jar Jar.
Look, Jar Jar Binks is hilarious, guys. Can we just all agree on that?
He's something. He's
I'm kidding.
I was gonna say this is dangerous.
Yeah,
yes. I don't think we should be talking about
you could also always speak your mind. Like,
appreciate that.
Yeah, you would never offend. You would never offend.
I need a safe space. Skyward Sword, I don't know. The mechanics, the introduction of some of the new items that you get to use, the fact that some items wear out, that was kind of cool and new, because there are some that will just straight up break on you. I always describe Ocarina of Time as like a straight line, and I've always described Majora's Mask as like a web. I think that this game does the best of both. I think it has a very full, if you're somebody who likes to do side quests, you've got side quests to do. If you're somebody who likes to follow the main story, you can follow the main story. And there's just, the game, it is your oyster as far as you want to upgrade items, etc. The puzzles are incredible. The atmosphere is amazing. And again, the music is just out of this world and all recorded by a live orchestra. Like, get out.
Is it true? Isn't there something about the music that it's just like something backwards? Have you heard that?
Da, 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 da. That theme is Zelda's Lullaby backwards.
That's what it is.
Oh, cool.
That's crazy.
It is, and it works so well.
Right. Did you play the HD remake that came out recently?
Not yet, because I couldn't justify spending another, buttload of money. I'll just pull out my Wii. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
Just pull out that
wrong.
Wii. No, pull it out.
It sounds like a euphemism.
You said you'd do it.
All right. No, but that's what I would do, and I can survive the motion controls. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. I liked this game. I played probably 2/3 of it, and I think I would benefit from the Switch version, honestly. So I think once that game, I guess, maybe goes down to $45 is probably the lowest it would ever go.
yeah,
That's when I'll pick it up.
same.
Yeah, I skipped this one. But I'm there for the lore. Absolutely. I think I saw the best version of Skyward Sword, which was watching YouTube videos on it. So I didn't have to play through it, but I'm kidding. That's just an offensive take.
I got you.
But no, I did like the idea of it. I actually borrowed somebody's copy of it and tried to play through it, but it's a really long tutorial and I wasn't in the mood for that. Right. And it's funny how time changes things, because I remember approaching Breath of the Wild and the stamina bar never felt obtrusive or in the way. But, years prior, I had borrowed this copy of Skyward Sword, and within that first hour, I'm just trying to get to the next objective, which is on the other side of the island. And I can't get there without my stamina running out over and over again. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm not playing.
Yeah.
So maybe I gave up on it too soon.
I think that's the thing about these Zelda games. They sit in their own time capsules, and I think you could go back and enjoy this game. And I think Nintendo is giving you a pretty good opportunity to do that with this HD one, where it fixes a lot of those issues. So, yeah.
There's a scene, and I remember playing it for the first time in my roommate at the time, Jay Hoffman's room, because he would play Skyrim and I would play Skyward Sword, and we'd sit there and talk about how much we loved these games. There was a scene when Zelda's Lullaby is playing, and I don't want to give away anything too much, but the melody was passed back and forth between an English horn and a clarinet, and they're having this heartfelt conversation, and I was wiping my eyes. For those of you who aren't watching, I was like, this is not real.
Right.
How have they done this? This is unbelievable.
You make me want to play it. I'll tell you, it makes me want to spend that Nintendo money on the $60 copy of it, but
it's worth it. I mean, as a game, if you're going to buy it once, I'd say it's worth the 60.
Yeah.
And some of the best dungeons, from my recollection, they have some really clever puzzles in there. I mean, there's a whole, you get double hook shots, right there. You can just think about the possibilities.
It's not the first time you had double hook shots.
When was the other time?
Twilight Princess.
Oh, I didn't play enough of that game.
Yeah,
that's true.
Sorry.
Just saying.
Yeah. I couldn't get past the wolf parts. Anyway, my number 3.
I like how you ended that before it could ever start, Brian. You go right ahead.
It's not going to start.
You earned it.
So a Zelda game had to be on my list, and I really, really went back and forth with this. Ben, it sounds like, do you have an ordered list at this moment, or are you going by feeling a little bit?
They are ordered, though I don't know if I even agree with my own order.
Okay. So it's kind of ever changing, evolving. This is kind of where I was for my Zelda pick. And it was between Ocarina and Breath of the Wild for me. Both are really special games. Both are time and place. But I had to give it to Breath of the Wild just because it is the superior game on a lot of fronts. And it is that generational game that we've kind of been mentioning over the past couple of weeks with things like Elden Ring. And Ocarina did that for me, but Breath of the Wild did it in a much grander scale and gave me things that I didn't know that I wanted. I feel like Ocarina did a good job of like, okay, yes, this is what a 3D Zelda is. I can see this, I can follow along. But Breath of the Wild changed the whole 3D Zelda, and it changed the entire genre of what an open world could be. It kind of took elements of all the different Zelda games that we've enjoyed up to this point. You get your living, breathing world of Majora's Mask, where things are constantly happening, people are living lives, and you are privy to that, and you can interact in different ways. You have your open world finally realized in an Ocarina. We have that moment of stepping into Hyrule Field and thinking, oh my God, like there's Death Mountain, there's the lake, like there's so many things that I can explore. But this actually does it and gives you that whole scope, that whole grand adventure ahead of you. We kind of get the stamina from Skyward Sword, which, you know, it was a weird thing in Skyward Sword, but you got used to it. And then like, it makes sense to me now why this isn't a gameplay aspect. Looking at Horizon, poor Horizon, where they tried in this newest game to give you like, yes, you can kind of climb everything, but as long as you go up this straight line. But Zelda, you know, did it the way that we actually want to play it, which is just like, okay, I want to run into this wall and then climb up. And if I make it, I do. And if I don't, then so be it. And we get all of these really fun aspects of Zelda into this incredible package. The dungeon design is the only thing lacking. And I think they have a real opportunity to fix that in the sequel. And if they do, then man, this is going to be a wild ride. But I love Breath of the Wild. I love that you can tackle anything in any direction. And that's another aspect. What is it? Link Between Worlds. You have that opportunity. Just the sense of discovery. People are still finding things out. I think there was like a couple of days ago, someone was playing around with mechanics about, I just saw what the video was of just like shooting an electric arrow and it drawing this beautiful picture. It's just crazy how people are finding stuff, you know, 4 or 5 years later. Unbelievable to me.
So expectations, right? They're a funny thing, aren't they? Like they could really affect your enjoyment of any game, you know? Like if your expectations are too high, maybe you play a game and it lets you down. If your expectations are high, maybe you play a game and it surpasses those expectations.
Gex better not be on your list right now.
No, you think, first of all, Gex was a pure surprise for me and I enjoyed every minute of it, but no, so there's a game that I love and I've always loved, and it means a lot to me in my life. And that game is Resident Evil 2. But I'm talking about the Resident Evil 2 remake. And the reason why is because Resident Evil 2 meant so much to me. And there was a lead up to the remake where it was apparent we were getting this thing after years of talking about it as a possibility. Boom, here it was coming. And Capcom was making it. You better be ready. And
I didn't
immediately,
believe them when they said that. I
yeah,
I didn't have any hope for them actually following through on this one for
I
whatever
had
reason.
I had faith. I had
Okay.
faith. But it was like this such a flurry of emotions leading up to this game because it was like, oh my gosh, they could take this and like make it modern and make it wonderful and improve upon everything from the original, where they could like really screw this up. And that was a genuine fear for me that in some way it was going to come out and like ruin my personal history with the original game because it would like add some new lore or something crazy. And no, like I wish I could go back to the moment where I bought my PS4 on the release day of this game to buy this game and play it. And absolutely no regrets. That also cements this in my memory as a time I'd like to go back to, because after playing this, there were so many titles at my disposal now. I had Spider-Man, I had God of War, I had all these, Horizon Zero Dawn, I had all these PlayStation exclusives that everybody's been ranting and raving about that I hadn't experienced up to that point.
That right there is that I haven't been able to do that too many times because I'm too much about like getting things very quickly. But every once in a while, I have the back catalog available, and that is a magical feeling.
Yeah. Now I'm like on top of it. I have all of the new systems, but not so much then. And just to go through and play this story again, obviously, like now in hindsight, there are things I wish they did a little better. The original game had such good storylines throughout the A and B games of each character. They would intersect extremely well. Whereas if you took an item in Leon's A game, in Claire's B game, that item would no longer be there. So it had this like interwoven story between the two titles, and it played differently too. Like, for example, Mr. X was only in the B game of either character in the original game. So to have him in off the bat, he's in this remake, it kind of blew my mind. There were like new, fresh takes on it, going through the police station fresh again and seeing the damage in like wonderful modern graphics was just everything I thought I was seeing in my mind's eye back in 1998. Right. I still go back and replay through Resident Evil 2 remake. I still think it's a great game, but it's like I'm chasing that high of that first playthrough, and I will never achieve it. Just the nods to the earlier game and the growth and the routes that they took the story and did new things with it and expanded that story. I just think it's an all-time great game, built off of an all-time great game. And I just want to go back and relive that first day of having my PlayStation 4 and playing this all over again.
I was stuck with Battlefield 4 as my first PS4 game, and I wasn't as enthused as you were.
Yeah, well, I was super enthused.
Yeah.
Isn't it on the Oculus, Resident Evil 2?
Resident Evil 4.
Okay, I was going to say, because if you wanted a way to play it anew.
Yeah, I actually have played Resident Evil 4 on my Oculus, and it's incredible. I mean, it really is something else. It's still like the textures are a little iffy, but it doesn't detract from the experience as you're playing through it.
I mean, there's rumor of 4 being remade and just modern, so yeah, you might find that feeling again.
Big fan of the 3 remake too. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it is an extremely underrated game, and they have free upgrades coming for the next gen of systems for both of those games. So if you guys ever wanted to play them, I'm not sure if it's the type of games you play, but they're great experiences.
Great pick.
Thanks, man.
Before I launch us into the number 2s, you mentioned in passing, like having the notion of having a backlog. And like, I just want to echo that. I love having a backlog. It's a testament to how much good stuff is truly out there as well. Like I keep up with current stuff. Like I'm playing Forbidden West here and there. I watched Parasite and Squid Games when they first came out. But at the same time, like I'm playing through Xenogear for the first time ever. I'm watching Neon Genesis Evangelion for the first time ever. And it's like, there's so much good stuff out there. I just like, sometimes we get paralysis analysis because of all the new stuff that's releasing, like boom, 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 boom. But like, I don't know, like just having a backlog is so awesome. Mario Odyssey. Didn't play it until 2022.
Wow.
And now I'm like full Mario pilled. Like the next Mario game that comes out, day one, like easy. Anyway,
Jump
I
up,
just wanted
superstar.
Oh my God. I've been playing it nonstop. All this to say, because my number 2 we kind of talked about already with Ben, but so I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. My number 2 would be Pokemon Gold and Silver. Now, the only reason I don't pick Red, Blue, Yellow is because I did play those like at the time when they were fresh, and I did play those, at school. But the reason I remember the hype around Gold and Silver, like everybody was freaking out that we were getting new Pokemon, and it was like a big deal. And then in Pokemon the movie, which I saw like 3 times in theaters, you got to see Meryl, Donphan, and Togepi, and it was like, it's happening, it's real. And that combined with, again, sound like Mr. a boomer over here, but time before the ubiquity of the internet, where the in group was everybody at school playing these, and then suddenly rumors started to come true. Like there was a rumor you could clone Pokemon by taking the link cable out, and it worked. So it was like, what else is true? You could surfing Pikachu, Pika Blue, like there's a Mew behind the truck, like all this stuff. And it was just everybody chipping in together, because literally everybody in elementary school was playing this. It's an experience I will never have again, because we're all connected via the internet, which again is fine. But it's like, looking back, I can really appreciate that for what it was. But yeah, I echo everything that Ben said about Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah, I guess I got to take back all that stuff I said about games that came after. No, I stand by it.
The cool thing too about Pokemon Gold and Silver is that, like, Blue, or Gary from Yellow, he's a gym leader now, and Koga from Elite Four, or Koga, the gym leader, he's in the Elite Four now. So it made you feel like the world was moving in a way that the rest of the series maybe doesn't quite do quite as well. Obviously, the rest of the series does a lot of other things better, but yeah, I just always will have a soft spot in my heart for that time.
It was a special time for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 2, which may be a shock to Rick, I don't know, because I can't change my 1. I just can't. My number 2 is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Oh,
It's not my 1.
You're kidding.
No, it's my 2. It's not my 1.
I feel like I don't know you.
I know. And again, I said that my number 1 is not necessarily my favorite, but I just
I bet I know.
You most likely do. Majora's Mask was the first video game that I remember seeing the commercial for, and I remember having, like, I don't know if it like harkened through like the chiming between the atoms that exist inside of me that were previously stardust, or what it was, but I was like, yes, existential dread. Like in second grade, I was like, this is everything. I needed this game. I've never needed a game before, and I needed this game. And holy shit, upon diving in, I was like, this is weird. This is uncomfortable. I hadn't even played through all of Ocarina of Time yet. Like I had played it. I'd played it at friends' houses, like in passing, like, fought Ganon kind of stuff. But like I played Majora's Mask, and its themes are so dark and so beyond like where a lot of 8-year-old brains are. And that's why it took me a long time to get through it too, which was good because I grew with the game. And then you look back as you're older and you go, holy, games are heavy. Like these are really, like, this is storytelling for children. Are you kidding me? The temples are masterfully done. They're beautiful. The music is full of languish, but it still has energy underneath of it. And don't get me wrong, you could say the same of Twilight Princess, but it slaps different. It hits different. What's the thing the youths say?
I don't know.
Bet.
Word.
Bet.
Word.
Now word is tired.
No, I still
Word.
say word sometimes.
We
Word.
say word.
Word nerd.
But no, Majora's Mask for me, and getting all of the masks was everything to me, except the couple's mask was next to impossible. Eventually that happened and my life got better. Majora's Mask, all-time favorite game.
Wow.
The taking on and off of the masks, that really solidified some of these dark themes in my mind, because I was pretty young when I played it, and it was horrific whenever Link would like put on the Zora mask and he would just like look up and scream.
Yeah.
You have ferried a soul to the other side while tethering them to something that goes onto your body and literally transfigures you into some damned version of them.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
In a kid's game. Well, I wouldn't say Majora's Mask is a kid's game.
E for everyone. That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Did you play the 3DS version of it at all?
It didn't get me the same way. Like I tried, and it just
totally
something in the N64 is just all the more unsettling, but not like, I don't know. It's even more fluid, I think, on the N64 in some ways, which sounds weird to say, but it plays better on the N64.
Yeah, on your Nintendo Switch.
It's like the CRT thing. The CRTV thing is like some of those older graphics just look better on those on that hardware. So I don't know. I think it looks smoother. One thing that I think about a lot when I think about Majora's Mask, which is also my favorite Zelda game, is, and I didn't consciously appreciate this when I first played it, though I didn't play it as a kid like you did, Ben. I played it for the first time in, I think, undergrad, but the time cycle combined with people's schedules, it gives the whole world a sense that it does not live for you. It goes on whether you are participating or not. And I love that, because if you talk to people on day one, they're normal people. Day two, they're changing a little bit. They're slightly more down and worried about the moon. And day three, they're depressed. They're frantic. They're freaking out. The whole world changes whether you choose to participate in it or not. Some people just don't even show up on the third day. They're gone. And it's like, that is so incredible. I love when games do that.
And you can't save everyone. I know everyone talks about it like Groundhog's Day. There's something so much more horrifying about this game. And exactly right, Ricky. There's that growing sense of anxiety. And then you start to realize, like, oh, did what I say change that person's life? And then you go back in time and you see it all over again. And you're like, did it even matter?
Even the clock tower music from day to day, and the notes changing and getting faster, and that moon just bearing down on you until it's just like breathing on you by the end. Yeah, so much in that game is just anxiety inducing.
That's what I'm saying.
In the best possible way.
No, it's anxiety inducing, and I cannot hang. I loved the themes of Majora's Mask. Absolutely agree about how much the darker tone just accentuates everything in that game. Yes, agree with everything you said, but no, it's too tense, dude. I can't deal with the hard reset. I just can't. And I get it. Like, I know people don't feel that way. And I know I'm in the minority in this conversation, but I do have to express this opinion because I couldn't do it. It was like every time I was close to achieving something and running out of time, it was too much for me to handle. It was too much for me.
I feel like the game gives you some good tools to get around that, with slowing down time. And I mean, it's the same thing that you're doing in Elden Ring, where you're getting more knowledge and getting better yourself, and you can fast track those things and really delve into what you want.
But there is not a ticking clock, like letting me know that time is running out constantly.
I think I had to teach my brain to like kind of ignore that at a certain point and just like focus on what was right in front of me. But yeah, I get that. I can see that. I mean, Pikmin was a game where I was just like, oh my God, like I don't have enough time to do this. And I still love those games, but yeah.
Yeah, I would love to go back and experience Majora's Mask again, without a doubt. But yeah, I feel like I'm talking to people who have no sympathy for my opinion here, so I will move on.
I can understand where you're coming from. I think I just like channeled that anxiety into a different way, where it didn't bother me, basically.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about God of War? Because that's just a happy-go-lucky game.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah. It is my turn, isn't it?
It is your turn.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Absolutely. You have our undivided attention.
Yes, God of War 2018 is my pick. I really like this game. It's a good game, and I would like to erase my brain and play it again, because the gameplay and story were just some of the best that I was not expecting. Ryan, you mentioned having expectations. This was something that not until that first reveal of the actual gameplay was I half interested in what the next God of War game would be. And this brought it. I mean, we get a really cool story, one shot, which is, I still don't understand how they did that. That doesn't make any sense to me. And it shows and elevates the visual of this entire game, because you're constantly like, yep, still one shot. We're still looking at the same image. And just getting this entirely different side of Kratos was something that I had played the previous games, knew what kind of person he was, and just having all my expectations thrown into the air was something that would be incredible to just like have that feeling again, like come at it again, having the same knowledge of like 1, 2, and 3, and then seeing what this game did. I love the combat. It is some of the most fluid. I'm not usually a combo person, but this game, I was learning combos, doing everything I could to beat those Valkyries by the end. One second.
Yeah. So just to go off that, the one single fluid shot, I think is something that I can't think of another game that has done. And this does it so well. There are those moments in those bigger boss fights. Like I can think of the first time you fight Baldur, and there's another time when you fight that huge dragon, and the camera just whips around in these like incredibly cinematic ways. And it gives you these, you can't put the controller down, unfortunately, but there's enough time there to really take in what you're seeing and process it. And it comes across as just extremely epic. But like I said, you can't put the controller down, because inevitably it's like, press this button now, and you have to be ready for that cue. But you still do have enough time there to really enjoy the cinematography of it, which is not something you say a lot in video games, right? Like to enjoy the cinematography of it. But like, right. I can't think of another game where I enjoyed it as much as I did in God of War.
Kind of like you're saying with Last of Us Part 2. This is one of those, just like, I won't say top 3, but I could put like top 5 of all time for me. It just did so many things that I am still in love with today.
That's high praise, man. That's high praise.
It is. And I'm so excited for Ragnarok as a result.
It is. It's still full price on Steam, and I've got just enough in my Steam wallet to cover that purchase, and I've been thinking about it. And brother, you're selling it. I might pull the trigger.
You've never played it, right?
Not a single one.
You will not be disappointed. You don't have to play any of the other ones. Just this one.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I would say it's worth your money. But I'm surprised it's still full price on Steam. You could probably save a little bit of that money in your wallet.
It came out in like January, so it's not been that much time.
Like it feels like longer than that, but yeah.
Horizon is the way back one.
And then Days Gone.
And Days Gone. Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you guys came on the show. Not only because we get to hear like things chiming through the part of me that used to be Stardust, Ben, but also because I appreciate that you guys have a different taste in games, and some of the ones that you've named, Rick, like Muv-Luv, it would never make either of our lists. And it kind of makes my list seem basic in comparison. So please allow me to have the most basic answer possible on my list for my number 2.
Is it Fortnite?
Oh God. No, it's not. So maybe not quite the most basic. But yeah, open world games just probably are my least favorite genre of games. But this just wowed me time and time again throughout my first playthrough, which was assuredly upwards of hundreds of hours. And that game's Skyrim. I was waiting for this game, and it was so anticipated by me that I was swiping up any magazine that had it on the cover. I was going on the internet and finding everything I could about this game, rewatching the trailer over and over and over. And when I finally got my grubby little paws on this game, it did not disappoint. It was like my life for a good year was Skyrim, and the DLC that came after that. It was just so engrossing. Everything about it. So many times it was that first, really the first time I can remember an open world game just driving me to see more and more of it every time I went into a new cave. And looking back now, it's funny because they are so similar. A lot of these caves and the things you do in the game are similar, but it was like there was always something to see around the corner, on the top of a mountain or underneath the mountain, and always new guilds to join or quest lines to find. And I would just look at my quest log and go, okay, like let's do this. Every playthrough I'd start and just start tacking away at the next one and the next one and the next one, and never being let down with the characters you get to meet along the way and the dialogue you hear and the choices you have to make. And oh, it's like there's so much magic in this one game. And looking back now, there's so much jank. And I don't think it's a game I will ever play again. I'm not sure I will ever pick up Skyrim and play a single minute of it from this point till the end of my life. But to go back and do it all over again would be something I can only hope to do, and obviously is impossible. But man, I just think a lot of people look at Skyrim now in a way that, like, yes, Bethesda's released it time and time again, probably 5 times now. And then they just had the anniversary collection. And even though Bethesda games are on Game Pass, that is not, you still have to pay money for it because they want your money for Skyrim. And I can't buy it anymore. And it's so many gamers are just so jaded on this title. But we can't lose sight of what it was when it first released and how important it was to gaming. And it was no less important to me.
It's a great pick. Real solid.
Thanks, man. Pretty basic, though.
Is it your favorite Elder Scrolls game?
Oh, no. It's
wow.
not. I'd actually have to say it's Oblivion, but
Same.
I don't
man.
think Oblivion had the impact when it first, like, I do obviously remember stepping out of the sewers, right? Like, but there were a lot more systems in Oblivion, and it wasn't as easy to just go in and enjoy right off the bat. Like Skyrim, it was instant. You didn't need to know much or how to do much. It was more action than RPG. And that aided the playthrough, the momentum of it greatly. Whereas Oblivion, there was a lot of finding out systems and min-maxing and, you know, a lot more RPG elements than you get in Skyrim. So, but I do have to say, in hindsight, I think that I can go back and play Oblivion. I can't go back and play Skyrim.
To be fair, and I know Ben will appreciate this point too. Oblivion doesn't have dragons that you can mod into Macho Man Randy Savage.
Or Thomas the Tank Engine.
Or
yeah.
Thomas.
Yeah, it's true. Oh yeah, brother. Yeah. I'm a big Macho Man fan, so I'm with that.
God of War, you can do that on PC.
What?
People have, what did they?
You just
who did
spent
they
his
put
Steam
in?
wallet.
I'm pretty sure someone put Thomas the Tank Engine in God of War in some fashion.
Oh, I thought you meant like turning Kratos into Macho Man.
That would
No.
be something
Not
else.
to.
No.
That would be. Come on, you know somebody's done it though, right?
All they've done,
I have to
the
look
only
this
thing
up.
I've seen is like googly eye Kratos,
Right, with the
on
big
PC.
mouth, yeah.
So not nearly as interesting.
I'm now googling Macho Man mod for God of War.
Jeez.
Let's see what we can find out, guys. Anyway, if you want to continue, I'll see if there's something to be found here. This is number 1, isn't it?
It is.
We're at the
It's
number
time
one
for
now.
Eric's number one.
Oh, here we go. This is it. This is for all the marbles. Don't mess up now.
Yeah. Yeah. So just a little backstory. So I got my first gaming laptop in January of 2020. Perfect time to do so. And prior to playing this game, I only ever really I didn't think about video games. It was either I didn't like it, I did like it, or I really liked it. It was just, it wasn't, it was a way to turn my brain off. The example that I always give is Detroit Become Human is a game that I loved when I first played it. And now I'm like, the writing is terrible. Like, I can't stand it. But this was the first game that I played that started to get me to think about what it was that I was playing. And it is a game, to go back to Ben's point, I don't like to use the word perfect, but I have zero criticisms for this game. And it is like everything I love about video games is present in this game. And, this probably isn't a surprise to anybody that's heard me talk on the podcast before, but it is Disco Elysium. It is, for those that don't know, it is a computer RPG. It's sort of an isometric point and click RPG, similar to Divinity Original Sin 2. It's heavily inspired by D&D, so there are lots of dice rolls and builds and checks and things like that. But you are an amnesiac cop. You partied so hard with drugs and alcohol that you wiped your memory. And all you know is that you are a cop and you have to solve this murder that took place. The cool thing about the game, there are so many cool things, but first of all, the writing is there's a stereotype that video games, have bad writing. And even thinking of games that have good writing, like Final Fantasy, if you compare it to like a book or even film, it's not the same. This is as good as literary writing.
Wow.
It is stupendous. It's thorough. It's profoundly funny, and it's also profoundly unfunny. But and you can go so many different ways. Like the themes that it delves into are, it goes heavy into politics. And I'm a mark for literally everything I'm talking about. So it's like, you can go heavy into politics. Not a single political ideology is spared. The developers are proud communists, but they don't shy away from criticizing that. Centrism is actually the one where the claws come out. You can, there are themes of alcoholism and addiction, the past, failed relationships, and it's profoundly heavy. But at the same time, you could do ridiculous things. Like there's a scene where if you're playing an honor build and you're trying to be as honorable as possible, you shove your thumb up your ass to prove that you have so much honor. I don't even remember how it gets to that point. But it's like, and that's the weird thing, is it can be so irreverent and funny in one moment, and then the next it is like saying some soul or touching on some soul crushing material. I genuinely do not have a single criticism for the game. And at this point, I've played it 2.5 times. I will play it again, not anytime soon, but it's a once in a lifetime. It's one of those games that it's like a once in a lifetime thing for me. Like, I don't know if I'll ever, Pokemon was that, this is that. I don't know if I'll have another one. So I tried streaming it and I was like, I can't, like,
Right.
This means too much to me to try to like crack jokes while I'm streaming it. So I cannot recommend it highly enough.
Can you?
I agree.
Yeah, Ryan, I know you have a lot to say for sure, but can you recommend this to anyone? Because I am not the person who would traditionally enjoy this kind of game, but I hear so many people speaking so highly of it. Ryan, first and foremost, and I just don't know if I'm going to enjoy it because it's not my typical game.
So there are 3 hurdles that people tend to come across. The first one is the easiest, I think. Some people don't like to engage in the politics of the game. I think that's missing out on a lot of what the authors have to say. You don't have to. You can, if you prefer to play apolitically, it's going to have story impact, but you don't have to focus on it. No big deal. The 2 other big ones are the quote unquote lack of gameplay and the amount of reading. The developers themselves have actually touched on the amount of reading. They modeled the whole thing after Twitter because they were like, people read all day. I don't understand why reading in video games is such a hassle. The other thing, the lack of mechanics, I would argue there are a lot of mechanics. You're just not doing God of War stuff. And that's like, it's a management of expectation. If you go into Disco Elysium, which is like a role-playing D&D experience, expecting Nier Automata or God of War or Dark Souls or Elden Ring, yeah, you're going to be bummed out, much in the same way you'd be bummed out if you go to McDonald's expecting In-N-Out or Whataburger expecting In-N-Out, if I want to start a fight. But I really think if you could get through the first day, you're going to know if it's for you or not. Yeah. The first day is like, I don't know, Ryan, what would you say? Like 3 to 4 hours?
It really depends on you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I think the first day also has the most that you can unpack. Like there are a lot of threads you could follow on that first day and open up, depending on how much you explore. But I think it is a game that can be recommended for everyone. I think the one thing that I would add is the controls. If you're playing on console, you'll find very obtuse.
Yeah.
But it in no way detracts from the game, in my opinion. I think I haven't really heard the argument against the political side of it, but you would be missing out on a lot if you don't engage on that, because there's so much commentary for all scopes of politics. And yeah, they have a lot to say about it. And the reading part, like you can nip that in the bud because it's voice acted and it has the best voice acting I've ever heard in a video game. So I think there may be arguments that people have as to why it's not their type of game. And I'm not diminishing that at all, Brian. I hear you. If you could get over the control scheme, I think you could play and enjoy the game. And if anybody could get over that, I think they can play and enjoy this game. I did consider it for this list, actually. The reason I left it off is because I'm looking forward to my second playthrough, maybe more than I looked forward to my first. Because I know what's there now and I know what I want to do differently. And I think it is a game that, to me anyway, like subsequent playthroughs only get better. The scene that hooked me was at the end of the first day. You have a dream where you're the hanged body. There's a body hanging from a tree. That's the murder. And in the dream, you walk to the hanged body on the tree, but it's you spinning like a disco ball, emitting disco lights. And it's this really surreal, ethereal thing. And you're talking to yourself, and really that conversation explains the entirety of the game, but you don't know it until you replay it. And then it's just like that's the kind of twist that reframes the rest of, I could go on and on, man. Yeah, I'm going to pass it to Ben, but I cannot talk enough about this game. I think some of the characters too, like not to, the obvious one, right? That is such a great character, but even the peripheral ones, the ones you interact with throughout the story, like I don't think there's a poorly written character in the entire game. No matter how trivial your interaction with them might be, I mean, you could pick up a book in the bookshop and read it. And even that, they didn't cut corners on writing. It is so well done. So well done.
Yeah. Ben and I talk about that sometimes because that's an episode that we did previously when we had a third host. And I've been on record saying I'm not proud of the episode because we had to rush a lot of stuff through it. But I still think to this day, Ben hasn't actually listened to it because he wants to play the game. And I'm going to be blowing up his phone so much whenever he does play it. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a must play. I think it's one of those titles that everybody should get to experience.
Maybe I'll play it on a Steam Deck and then I can switch between controls and mouse and all that stuff.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
So my number one is a game I've logged over 400 hours into.
Wow.
Probably 410 at this point. Yep. And it was on Brian's list and it's on my list. It's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And those were, that is the end of the three children. Breath of the Wild. Buying a Nintendo Switch was the first, I would say, in some ways it was like the first major financial decision my wife and I made together was buying a Switch. And we bought Breath of the Wild, and I remember us playing through it, and then the opening sequences were like, oh yeah, these are some good noises just in the opening sequences, like in the cave. And then like walking out and going, we can go everywhere, we can do anything. And as you said, Brian, they're still learning things about the game. Like there's a weekly video put out of like 20 things you still didn't know about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's true. It's true. The game, I don't like the dungeons very much. That system is just not great to me. But this game almost doesn't need them, which sounds weird to say as it leaves my mouth. But I mean, it's the Hyrule Castle I think we've always wanted. You know,
that was cool.
It's just I don't want to give away too much. It's just I think similarly to you talking about Super Mario 64 and how it revolutionized everything. It's not that Ocarina of Time didn't, but I think that the impact of Breath of the Wild was bigger than Ocarina of Time in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, number one, if I could play it again with new eyes, I would. And that's also because I have this really weird thing where my brain needs to memorize maps of things. So I already have the whole map like in my head. Like I could tell you how to get anywhere literally right now.
Yeah.
It's it's a curse at this point.
I just have like the 4 major areas in my mind, not any other stuff outside of that.
See, and that's called healthy.
Yeah. I mean, I only probably put 160 hours into it, which, comparatively is nothing. But I know the map pretty well. I could probably tell you where to find most stuff, which is something. It does stick with you in that way.
It do
be like that. Good pick, though, man.
Yeah, I can get behind that pick. And I think we have a similar thought of Ocarina of Time it's its own thing, but this is real different. And yeah,
I will say you came out of the cave and you said, I can go anywhere. Not quite yet. You got to find your way off the plateau first, and that's going to take you a little while, but
good tutorial.
It was a good tutorial. It was a great tutorial. Yeah.
All right. Well, my number one, I don't know if Ryan will like this one or understand it or expect it, but this game was definitely a time and place because I was sick as a dog and my wife was sick as a dog. We both had some sort of, I don't think it was food poisoning, but we were not feeling well. We took the entire week off and we popped in this little game called Subnautica. And we dove into the ocean and I loved every single second of it. Exploration in this game is so incredible to me. You have the knowledge, Ben, of the Breath of the Wild map. Like I have a knowledge of the Subnautica map, which is weird because it's all underwater. So surface level, you get nothing. But there is just a massive handcrafted world under the water that the game lets you explore however quickly you want to. You can go from the safe shallows all the way to an irradiated zone or all the way to the edge of the map where there are huge creatures that you will never, ever be able to deal with. And the game lets you do that if you know what you're doing. I loved the mystery of this game. I know Ryan's dabbled in it, and you got decently far.
Yeah, pretty much.
Either of you two played Subnautica at all? So it's all about exploration, and there is a story to be had, but it kind of like gets uncovered as you want it to. You don't have to do anything, but you pick up little pieces here and there that form this overall puzzle that then has a complete picture and storyline. But the game has incredible base building. I didn't realize how much I loved different aspects of it, and I know games have done these things before, but the crafting system, the base building, the way that the game lets you go out further and further the more things you get, it's just an incredible experience to just go anywhere in this game. Every single environment, there are like different biomes essentially underwater, and there are different dangers and different just colors and creatures. There are so many different creatures. I don't even know how many different ones, and they're all, none of them are fish. They're all created for this game, and they all have different functions. And you find yourself going deeper and deeper into the underwater world and finding just the most surreal things. It's an incredible experience.
Yeah, it does a great job balancing the excitement of exploration and new discovery with genuine fear.
So that, and I know I've said this before to you, Ryan, this is a terror game where your own imagination is the thing that is scaring you the most. If you have any sort of thalassophobia, or even if you've ever gotten in a pool and get a little bit of anxiety for holding your breath, this game produces those fears in spades. And only after you have gotten your feet wet and gotten the upgrades to get a little further do you feel any sort of comfort being in the water. I felt that, and then I mastered it, and I can go anywhere in this game and not be afraid. All of that went down the drain the moment I put on the VR goggles and got it into the 10-foot first zone. It's like I couldn't imagine swimming through this game in VR and going 1,000 meters down. That would just be mind-boggling. But the game produces those feelings just like on your first playthrough going into the water. So
yeah, I appreciate the getting your feet wet pun.
Oh yeah. All of that.
It's not just the fear of what's out there. They do a lot of putting you underwater in places where there's a high chance you'll run out of air and you'll be in a cave. Like they'll put you in a cave because you need certain resources to craft, and you need to go to these areas that just feel unsafe to be in as you're running low on oxygen, right? Right. I'll get lost in here, but I have to go in there. And yeah, it's a terror game.
Yeah. And this sounds like something that would be right up your alley.
Oh, it does. I love scary games. I didn't list a single one, but that's for a whole nother reason for another time.
I would say experience this game in the best, if you have a PC, you should play it on there because it's a downward slope. If you have a console, you'll get an okay experience. If you have a Switch, don't even bother. So yeah, play it with the best possible thing you have.
Yeah, that's a good pick. It's funny. I shouldn't be surprised by that pick, but I am. I am surprised by that.
Well, because I've talked about it plenty, but it's not one that I bring up as this is the one that I want to experience and wipe my brain and do again. And the sequel's really good too. I don't want to discount that game. I think again, it suffered from okay, I know what I'm getting into. I know I'll like this. Here's a couple new things, but overall, I'm not getting that that first time experience with the Below Zero expansion.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Yeah. All right, so time for my number one. When I have to tell you, I bit my tongue so much during this episode, so much. I love everything that everybody brought to the table, but man, my number one is Ocarina of Time.
Whoa.
It's a great pick.
It
makes sense.
It does make sense because a few things I want to address. There would be no Breath of the Wild if it weren't for Ocarina. So saying Breath of the Wild has more impact, I do have issue with that. I
respect that.
I think Ocarina of Time has the greatest impact of any Legend of Zelda game. That jump to 3D, it's the same thing as Mario 64. If you're going to say that Odyssey is, it's what Mario 64 did, then in every way Breath of the Wild is what Ocarina of Time did. Man, look at that, turning your words against you. Oof, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I don't know how much I agree, but go on.
I was gonna say I smelled the camp that Brian was in, and that's why I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can see the jump, but it's
right. Of course.
I still get you.
I can as well, but for me too, I think it hits different. For the time and the age I was playing Ocarina of Time, I was 16 years old when this game came out, and it was the prime of my young gaming life. And you see the credits, right? You hear that just amazing Koji Kondo tune over the credits, and then you're kind of getting glimpses of what's possible in the game. But in the back of your head, you haven't seen anything like that before. You think that video games can't do that. I can't possibly ride that horse around that large area openly and have nothing impeding my progress, right? That's impossible. And so you start the game and you start off in Kokiri Forest, a very structured, enclosed area. Like, yes, there's exploration in there. And yes, there's a dungeon, a great dungeon too, with the Deku tree. But you're thinking this is going to be the blueprint for the game, right? Kind of like a 3D version of the 2D. Everything's dissected into these little areas you'll go into, blah, blah, blah. You get that bittersweet goodbye and you head out into Hyrule Field. And I just remember this paralysis taking over me and looking at the vastness of Hyrule Field and just thinking, what? Like, where do I go? What do I do? I can just go anywhere. Like, look how big this area is. And yes, now looking at it, it is not a big area, but there was nothing like it ever before at that time. And seeing Hyrule Castle, I'll head that way. Like, that looks like a landmark I should go to. And just finding everything organically in the game. Rick, you brought up a few times this episode that playground, talking to your friends, discovering things and telling other people about it, and then them getting to experience it and you getting to experience what they share with you. And that is very much what this game was for me. It was not internet fed. There was nothing telling me where to go and what to do if I just chose to type it into my keyboard. It was discovering everything on my own and sharing that, trying to find all those Skulltulas with nothing to guide you or help you. And I did find them. And I could say, like, I found them. Nothing helped me find them. Yeah. Nothing. And I can't say that anymore. I don't think I'm that level of gamer when it comes to dedication. I will very much look at a guide now for that sort of collectible. And I don't think there's any problem with that. And I don't regret taking that course of action. But I just think that it was a different time and a different feeling. And to go back and to have that all over again, I would give anything to experience Ocarina of, not anything, but you get what I'm saying. I have a family. I would not give up my family to go experience Ocarina of Time again. But yeah, Castletown, the games you could play in Castletown, Gerudo Valley, the Ganon fight at the end is the most
incredible.
It's the most epic thing.
Another failing of Breath of the Wild was that end fight.
Okay.
Ocarina does not suffer that.
No, Ocarina's final boss fights are in many ways the best final boss fights of any of the Legend of Zelda series ever. It kicks the pants off of Majora's Mask. Definitely Twilight Princess.
Maybe not Wind Waker though. Wind Waker is pretty badass. Yeah, like especially that ending, right? But think of the scope of Ocarina of Time too. All the different places the story takes you, and how it jumps between times, and the breadth of everything that happens in that one tale. It is the jumping off point for every legend. Like, they literally made a timeline retroactively, I think. I don't think they had this in mind the whole way along. and said like, okay, this is the branching off point, right? There are 3 different, either you die or you defeat Ganon when you're older, or you defeat Ganon when you're younger. And these are the games that take place after that branch. And this was like the nexus of all Zelda games, basically. And I think it deserves that. It was everything. It is everything. I think I will go back and play Ocarina of Time without hesitation, but it will never equate to that first experience.
Well, and as you talk about this, I kind of sit here and in a sense, I withdraw what I said earlier, but at the same time, it's like the invention of the car, the invention of the automobile, right?
Yeah.
And then now we have these electric cars,
right?
You know what I mean? It's like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
They're both amazing in their season.
Right. I don't think anybody has to revoke anything. I think everybody had awesome lists. But this one is mine. And
there are others like it.
Yeah, exactly. But I will say too, you describe Majora's Mask as a web, and it is undoubtedly more of a web than this game. But this had a ton of side quests. There was a lot of side content that you could just delve countless hours into. And the 400 hours you sank into Breath of the Wild, granted, you could never sink that much time into this game. But for the time, it felt like it was.
I wish that my little golden Majora's Mask cartridge could talk. And if it could, it would probably file for child abuse or something.
Right.
The amount that I would never stop playing.
I guess I shouldn't say never. You could sink 400 hours into Ocarina of Time. I think you're right on that account, and Majora's Mask as well. But
Ryan, you should, if you end up having to play through A Link Between Worlds as part of our bet, you should turn around and then also play Ocarina of Time for 3DS, because that is a really fun way to play that game. It has those enhanced graphics. The 3D is pretty cool, and it fixes, Iron Boots problems. But
I think I'm actually playing it on the NSO because I have
idea.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give Nintendo more money.
Sure.
But which I can play Majora's Mask now too.
You make very compelling tension.
Points.
Ocarina has, I probably had more happy brain chemicals going through at the time, but I can't live without either of those games. Honestly,
I don't know if I can go back and play Breath of the Wild. I know I haven't. I know I haven't done everything there is to do, but I feel like I've done everything I wanted to do in that game. Mm-hmm. I could go back and play Ocarina. Part of it is because it's easier to digest, right? Like,
sure.
Yeah. Did I go back and collect? No, I didn't collect the no seeds for me. Curry seeds.
No poop in your pocket.
No, man. Like, come on. 900 of those things.
No poop in your pocket?
No golden poop in your pocket. Did you do that, Ben?
Did I poop in my pocket?
Yes. No, did you get all the...
I will try.
First you pull out your weed, now you're pooping in your pocket. Come on, Ben. No, I can't even think of the Kokiri. They're the Kokiri seeds, right? Yes. Korok. Oh my God.
Koroks are in Wind Waker. Kokiri are the children in the forest.
Yes.
Okay, so the Korok seeds. Did you collect all the Korok seeds?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
There are 900 of them. No way.
Okay, good. So you don't have poop in your pocket.
I have a little bit of poop in my pocket. Also, the more you read about those, like in the game, and like what the things are actually described as, it gets a little bit concerning. And I don't want to get into that too much.
Oh dear.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good cue then to to head into our mission debrief, and we have a few questions for you guys too, but we'll do that after this little musical break. All right. So once more, before we start asking you guys questions, did you want to give a little shout out to your show again and tell everybody where they could find you on the internet that we have spent all episode talking a bunch of crap about?
I did the first one. Do you want to take care of this one, Ben?
No, I'm just kidding. We I'll do some of the things. We are on the well, first of all, we have a Gmail. because those are still things that you can reach us at. And because of the video, sorry, Blossom is having a fit. And she's
Pets
gonna
are
be okay.
welcome. Pets are
So-
always welcome.
Blossom Elizabeth McGovern Dandria Bugale. That's her full name. We have an instant gram.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
look at that.
look at this, everyone. It's 2022. This is Pixel Project Radio Podcast. That's our instant gram. You may email us at pixelprojectradio@gmail.com. We have a Discord, which Rick has been doing most of the caretaking for. Rick, would you like to tell them about the Discord?
It's a Discord
Yeah.
you
that
can
I
chat.
care for.
Yeah.
No, it's been fun. You know, we actually it had its first, like, you know, up until now we've just kind of, you know, chatting, but it had its first practical use, if you're into that kind of thing, because we were getting so many ties in our summer JRPG bracket that I took it to the Discord and I was like, let's talk it out. And they helped pick what eventually became the winner. So yeah. it's a
Awesome.
Did
fun
I
time.
have part in that? I don't know if I was a part of that one. I'm on your Discord.
You got angry that it that Super Mario RPG advanced, but that's about it.
I was upset. No, I was upset because didn't something beat Super Mario RPG that shouldn't have?
Super Mario RPG beat Persona 5.
No,
I
that
think-
definitely didn't upset me. It was another one. It was at Chrono Trigger. Lost.
Oh yeah, that too.
to Nino Kuni or something, I think, right?
Yeah.
Was that right?
Yeah.
Does that sound right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. And I was like, you guys did not come through for my co-host.
Oh.
Look at him right now. He's losing it. That's his favorite game. You're breaking his heart.
Oh no.
See, I did partake in the Instagram poll as well, and you guys do awesome things on your social media, and I'll let you continue your shout outs for sure. But I did want to say that yeah, I did partake in it, and the one thing it did was make me lose faith in humanity.
They do that too, the polls.
Hey man, if it makes you feel better, the one that I was pushing to win got voted out immediately. So
Which was
Persona 3.
yeah. I think I voted against it.
It's okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
But yeah, that's Ben mentioned our instant gram and our email account, Gmail account, which basically just is billing for our host. But and we've got Twitter at Pixel Project Pod. That's active again. I stopped using it for a long time and now it's back. And I think that's it, right, Ben?
Yeah.
You guys are always great to interact with on social media. Yeah. We also have social media links and we never shout them out. So please allow me to piggyback off yours. And we
Please
are on
shout.
Twitter at listoff_podcast, on the Instantgram, as the kids call it, at listoff podcast. We have a Discord too. I don't talk about my Discord. It's actually one from when I used to stream. And recently I was able to find out how to get back into my old Discord account. So we now have that Discord. I haven't shared the link yet. And I don't think I will
do
actually.
it, man. Oh, okay.
I don't think I will. I think I'm going to save it for our 2-year anniversary. I think it's going to be like, hey, we've had this here the whole time, even though I told you about it on a prior episode. Now you could get there. Yeah, we have links down in the show notes, and we'll include your links down in the show notes as well. Thank you very much for joining us. We do have a few questions for you, and as I mentioned, they are very superficial. We will spare our audience any Super Mario Sunshine questions. But do you guys use inverted controls or standard controls?
Don't call it standard. That's
That's
not,
what it's called.
That's not fair.
Hold on. If something is called inverted, that means it is inverted from the standard. Am I wrong?
That's no, I see what you're saying there. Golly, Rick, I actually
Unverted?
don't know if unverted. Rick, I don't even know if we've ever talked about this.
If I move my mouse up, I want my character to look up.
Okay,
Very
so
good.
mouse is different. I get that, but with the joystick, I think is more what we're looking at.
If I move my joystick up, I want my character to look up.
That doesn't make any sense.
Nope, I see, and same with me. I get like if I'm piloting something, if I'm pulling down, I need to go up.
Exactly, because you are flying through space as a vessel.
So we now have Pixel Projects off with Rick and Ryan, and List Radio with
List
Brian
Radio.
and Ben.
B and B, R and R.
Wow.
Drawing the
Look
line
at
here.
It
That's
depends
it.
on the game.
This is what tears us apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourselves. You both, your podcast sounds exquisite, and I'm not using that word lightly. I know the sound quality of this probably will not match your own because I don't edit audio in the same way that you guys do. But have you found that you both being music majors, has it helped you at all with developing the audio of your podcast? Do you think you just have a better ear for that sort of thing, or do you just, is it more, you spend a lot of time editing? I mean, what is your secret, if I may ask?
He is the one with the secrets.
I spend a lot of time editing. Yes, I'm sure there are shortcuts to do some of the things that I currently do. Like I'm currently looking up into like what is a noise gate and how does it work, because I think that will cut down on some editing time. But yes, I am super meticulous about it. As to whether or not being musicians helps our sound, it's such a different thing, like miking and stuff. I always just default to, does it sound good to me? Yes, no, okay, well, because miking is just, we were never taught that.
Right.
No, never.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Well, it sounds great every time. Have you ever thought about
Thank you.
playing music for your show? Not to put you on the spot here.
Only in my dreams, maybe.
It would be
I don't
cool.
know.
I think it would be cool to like do your own intro,
To pull out a pipe organ, that's not
Yeah.
that'd be kind of funky to do though.
It'd be cool though.
Like Ben is an organist and a singer by training, and I am a saxophonist. It's like saxophone by itself is not really conducive to intro music. And we could compose like some kind of jaunty tune and get a synthesizer or something. But
yeah, I just really want to hear Ben sing.
Let's save that for another
beautiful.
time.
It's beautiful.
You did it earlier. Every time you sing on the podcast, it's like, listen to those mellifluous pipes. It's just so beautiful.
Golly, well, what I did earlier did not feel anywhere near that, but yeah,
So-
I'd never thought about the musician. I mean, I think we do listen very carefully, at least. And my dad was in radio, so I
neat.
I think about him a lot actually when it comes to how I inflect. Though that guy could get 100,000 words in 45 seconds without a single or and it was mind-boggling.
That's where I got the radio for our name. Is I was like Pixel Project. I was like, that sounds cool. I didn't know what plosives were, so I was like, okay, alliteration. And then I was like, oh, Ben's dad did radio.
It's true. Earl Bugale.
Homage to Earl. Ice cream.
Thank you.
Homage
Yeah.
to the man.
It is a good name. Adding that radio just adds a certain vibe to it, almost a 1935 vibe, if you will.
Well, we try to include at least one coughing fit where I almost die in each of our episodes.
Seems to be happening more and more lately. I am genuinely concerned for
Get
you,
that
Brian.
checked.
Don't worry
Get that
about it.
checked.
I'm like that guy in the movie who coughs and you're like, oh, he's gonna die.
Wow.
The Chekhov's cough, I believe they call
That's
that.
it. Yeah.
I do have
That
to.
is-
We are also the people you could listen to and hear about 45 ums in a minute. So we got that going for us,
Oh, I absolutely do. I just don't know how the hell he didn't.
right? It's pretty incredible. I bet he has a hell of a voice too. I almost want to look him up now.
He did. He was awesome. But it was really funny because at home, he was happy, just like literally sitting on the front porch at like 11 o'clock at night, drinking a Yingling with a dog at his feet. Like that was his favorite thing on the planet.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like unbeknownst to my family, my dad was like manicuring and architecting literally the news for downtown Pittsburgh, like day in and day out. Literally the year he died was the year the radio station went out of business. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, the hell did you do for them? Like,
Right. He was everything. He was everything for them.
And meanwhile, he was just like at home, like,
Right.
yeah.
So we typically do ask do you have a favorite game that you want to shout out or a video game series? But I think they may have come up this episode. Are there any that you would want to mention that didn't come up this episode that just stand out in your personal gaming history that maybe our listeners would like to take on?
Persona for me is like probably my favorite in terms of consistent quality. Specifically Persona 3, 2 and 3. 5 is good, but 2 and 3 they're better in a lot of ways.
That's cool. I never really hear 3. So yeah, most people, it's Persona 5. It's the latest and greatest. I think it was a jumping in point for a lot of people too.
Well, calling them great, like one better than the other, is like talking about which sports car is the best. It's like, does it matter? No, but yeah, it's still fun.
Yeah.
I can't think of any games that I just want to like, kind of throw out. I mean, I've basically mentioned everything that I would suggest right now.
Right.
Kind of depends on where I'm at with life, but yeah, no, there's a lot. I personally love horror games and scary games, as Rick did hint at earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would always encourage people to play those to find out what they're made of and to realize that, it's not real until it is.
I'm a huge fan of horror games. And it is always real. But do you have one series or game in that genre that stands out? Because I know personally for me, it's like Resident Evil, but there are others that I love. And I'm curious what your taste is when it comes to horror.
The first game that screwed with me was I'm Scared.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's so like old school, but it is also like you can see that it birthed a lot of scary games.
It directly inspired Doki Doki because it was one of those games that would put files on your desktop, or it would like crash to desktop and tell you to like go to a certain file or something.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
It's unsettling. It's real unsettling. I don't know. I've always liked the Slender series. I've liked FNAF, and I'm not talking about FNAF Post 4. I'm talking about FNAF. That's not to say that I haven't loved it in Oculus, because that's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. If it's scary and if I can play it, I generally like it.
Yeah, very cool. I might have to get it on my Oculus. I have one as well. Do you play Beat Saber by any chance?
I was about to say something that wouldn't sound right. I've played Beat Saber. Yes.
Very cool. I'm a big fan of Beat Saber. Super hot as well. Yeah. There's so many good VR experiences out there now, though. I think good jumping on point for that medium. Definitely. So I think without further ado, we head into our mission.
No. There's a question that you're missing.
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. Is Funky Kong...
Oh, God. Can we just not?
Is Funky Kong a surfer or a biker?
My initial thought was surfer.
Really?
So I'm recognizing though that he could have a number of outdoor hobbies.
No. Yes. Right. We are not one-dimensional. I understand. So what about you, Rick?
If it weren't for the cutoff jorts, it would be biker.
Yeah.
But the jorts, like, it's got to be surfer. Maybe I'm just being influenced by so many pictures of him on a surfboard.
Yeah, I think you are. But he's definitely a biker, guys. Like, cutoff jorts are bikers wear cutoff jorts. Look at that bandana. He's a biker. Come on. He's wearing
bandana. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll go with you guys both said surfer, and Brian could have his moment in the sun.
Perfect.
But yeah, he's definitely a biker.
You may go to the mission debrief.
All right. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. So without further ado, we're going to our mission debrief. We'll start with you, Ben. Do you have anything you'd want to suggest to our listeners outside of gaming or gaming adjacent?
Wow. Yeah. So I know that it's, a lot of times people think, okay, I know I'm going to choose the middle of winter to, start something new, like a New Year's resolution. I don't think that January 1st, when we are literally fighting the urge to hibernate, is necessarily a good time to try anything new. I would say, and not from a religious standpoint, but like around the time that Lent begins, actually like getting into the meteorological spring, which we are now in as of March 1st, is a good time to start something new. If I were to make a suggestion, one of my favorite books of all time is by a man by the name of Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's called The Mastery of Love. It's a book that really helped me and continues to help me recognize ways that I can do better and be more mindful. And I think that seeing as we've all been to hell and back in some way, shape, or form, whether we realize it or not through the pandemic. I think it's good to check in with our own selves and also to check in with those around us.
That is great.
Yeah.
Great suggestion. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know how you're going to top that, Rick, but good luck.
Yeah, geez Louise. I was like, I'll recommend The Sopranos because I'm perpetually just watching it. But then Ben comes in with this life-changing advice.
Right.
Actually, okay. No. I could do this. I'm going to jump off of that, Ben, because that is, well, I guess I'm really just kind of building you up here, because I was going to say that is a book that you recommended me, and I believe you bought it for me when I was in the midst of my doctoral degree hating everything.
I probably did buy you that book.
But similarly, you also did this the same thing for me. One of those other times that I was hating my life in school, you recommended another book called The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff, which examines the ideas of Taoism through Winnie the Pooh. And Taoism is not a religion, first and foremost. It's just a way of thinking that you can apply to pretty much anything. But it was ultimately a way, as I think Ben's book is too, to sort of refocus, take a step back, breathe, and just take care of yourself. I think ultimately is the goal of both of those. And maybe that's my recommendation. Just like the memes that have been going around have been replacing touch grace in Elden Ring with touch grass. And maybe we all just go outside and take a break from whatever you're doing, whether it's music or your PhD or video games. Just let's all just take a break and take me time.
Ground yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's better than just recommending a TV show, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So I guess I'll follow that up by recommending a TV show. No, I'm kidding. It's Brian's turn anyway. But no, I go for walks multiple times a day, and I think it's good just to step away sometimes and give yourself that little fresh take on things. Every time I see Touch Grace, I can't help but think of Depeche Mode, even though it's not, it's a touch faith, right? Reach out and touch faith, your own personal Jesus. But I know it says Touch Grace, but every time I see it, I think of that song anyway.
They've got one album that I just absolutely love, and I can never remember the name of it.
Is it the one that has Wrong on it by any chance? It was like more recent.
No, it might be their first album, to be honest, but neither here nor there.
Yeah, but good band, Depeche Mode. Not my mission debrief. So we'll go to Brian's. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. I asked you yesterday if you still go on walks around the neighborhood, Ryan. That's how we met, Yeah. Anyway, my mission debrief is a TV show, Severance. I don't know if anyone has watched this show.
Seen the trailers, the commercials for it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard because I don't really want to spoil what the main thing about it is, but it's also like the most enticing thing to get you to watch it. So I'll be brief with it, but it's on Apple TV Plus, so that's like a huge barrier for some. But it explores what if you could achieve work-life balance by actually separating your mind and having a work life and then also having a everything else life. And it's actual like physical procedure that people are undergoing and the ramifications of that. And there's a lot of clever stuff in the show, and it's like halfway through its first season, so it's still ongoing week to week, but we are really enjoying it. It has what's the guy's name?
Adam Scott.
He is the main character. A lot of great actors in it. That I say great actors. I didn't know any of these people, but they are doing a phenomenal job.
Trisha Arquette's in it, right?
Christopher Walken is in it as well.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, lots of greats. But I would encourage people to look at the show. It has a lot of cool themes in it, and it really makes you think about like achieving. I mean, kind of jumping off both of the book recommendations here. What is it that everyone is looking for in life, and what does it mean to be happy? Do you have that work life balance, and are you separating yourself and allowing yourself to enjoy life in either one of your your career or your day-to-day life? So Severance is the show on Apple TV Plus.
Very cool. Man, you guys all have some pretty profound stuff going on. Mine's so simple. So I said earlier I'm playing Overboard, right? The game on my phone. I got it for free. The reason I got it for free is because of what I want to tell our listeners about, and that is Google surveys. So yes, free is an odd term to use because I'm sure they're gathering priceless information on me by asking me my take on YouTube videos and things of the sort, or places I've been. But it's up to you how much information you want to share. You can sign up for, get the app, Google surveys. They ask you questions based off of where you've been if you turn your location on, or just random questions about YouTube or whatever if you don't turn your location on. It's up to you how much information you want to share. They'll ask you surveys every once in a while and you accumulate money. It's Google Play money, so you can't cash it out for real funds, but you can use it to make app purchases. So far, I've used it to purchase games like Florence and Overboard, and I don't regret it at all because both of those were really, really great experiences, and I didn't have to pay a dime for them. I don't play a lot of app-based games on my phone, mostly because they're either after your money and they're all using gotcha mechanics to get you to spend it, or because they cost money, and if I'm going to spend money on a video game, I'm going to buy it for one of my consoles because I don't like playing on a 3-inch screen. But this is a way I can avoid all that by just giving a little bit of my life away and achieving free video games. Seems like a good trade to me. So if that sort of thing interests you, definitely sign up for Google surveys, man.
Not sponsored.
No, absolutely not sponsored, like whatsoever. Yeah, we're sponsored by Google. Yeah, you could tell, right? Well,
we got a show next week too. Is that right?
Oh, geez, I always forget this part. Yes, Brian, we do have a show next week, and it is actually, it's funny because Rick, you inadvertently alluded to it with your talk about Disco Elysium and how it has such phenomenal writing. Our show next week is the top 10 games with the best writing. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I actually tapped into all of those surveys you were doing with Google.
Right.
Boom.
So sorry about that.
That's how he knows. No, don't apologize at all. I figure it's all public access at this point. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a very hard list, as you said, yes, Brian, because I think there are a few topics where we are open ourselves up to judgment, and perhaps no topic will be as open to judgment as this one. Everybody has their games that they think have the best writing, and we do as well. And we can't wait to share those with you guys. So that'll be next week. Thank you so much, Rick, Ben, for joining us. This has been a blast. And once again, they're Pixel Project Radio. If you want to go check them out, I highly recommend you do. They do a great show. Thanks, guys. Do you have anything else you want to say? You want to say bye?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
We want to say thank you. Obviously, I love your show, and we're thrilled to be a part of it. This has been just so much fun.
Cool.
Honestly, a blast. So thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Kind words. Well, we'll see you guys next week. We hope everybody has a great one. Bye.
See ya.